This, I must have put also the Mayor, Councillor Dominic, sent her apologies that she can't be here this evening anyway. Now, the purpose of the meeting tonight is a requisition meeting, and I shall read out the letter which was sent to the Mayor, to her worship. And we, the undersigned, being electors of the City of Douglas, request that an urgent public requisition meeting be called for the attendance of the Leader of the Council and the Chairman of the Environmental Services Committee to explain in public forum the changes made to refuse collection, their impact on our community, and to take related public questions from those in attendance. Now, what I propose to do this evening, firstly, the press have been asked if they could come, and they've been allowed to come tonight, and they will be filming and recording what goes on. If anybody doesn't wish to be on record from that point of view, well, please consider your position. So what's going to happen this evening is that I'm going to invite the Leader of the Council, Councillor Claire Wells, on my left, and we also have Councillor Falk Horning on my left, who's the Chairman of the Environmental Committee. And Councillor Wells is going to make a statement first, and then I'm going to open the meeting for questioning from the audience. I would be grateful if you want to ask a question, if you can put your hand up, and please just try and ask one question at a time, otherwise everybody will not get a chance to answer questions, and inevitably there may be duplicate questions, but I would just try and keep it as brief as you possibly can so that we can progress. So without further ado, I'm just going to now introduce Councillor Wells to make her statement. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Captain Carter. Good evening and welcome to everyone present, and thank you for coming along. I would like to take this opportunity to explain the timeline of how we reached the place we are now, answer some of your questions, and allay some misinformation. 17 years ago, the government ran a curbside recycling trial in Douglas, Uncan and Braddon. At the end of the trial, the government was not able to continue with the scheme. However, Douglas Council felt it was the environmentally responsible thing to do and has, to this day, continued to provide the service to Douglas and, at times, Braddon residents. There's a sneeze coming, so I'm sorry when it arrives eventually. At the time,
could you take the microphone for the people at the back so they can hear you? Thank you.
I've got to negotiate now a microphone and the paper, so she's trying to give me a bit of a chance here. Okay. At the time of the rollout, every household was provided with boxes and information. Since that time, despite numerous campaigns to encourage its use, the overall tonnage of material collected through the scheme, and therefore the Council's recycling rate, has remained static. Further initiatives to encourage recycling following feedback have included the introduction of brown cardboard collection and a wider variety of plastics, various leaflet drops and door knocking. However, despite all efforts, the overall amount of material captured and therefore the recycling rate remained static at 5 to 6%, or even declined from when it was first introduced, despite the fact that we know there is material that can be recycled in refuse bins. From time to time, the Council conducts compositional waste analysis of household bins. This involves going through the material placed in collected black bins to determine its composition. For example, how much of it is true residual waste for the energy from waste plants, how much of it is true residual waste, I've said that twice, how much is garden waste, and how much could otherwise be reprocessed in line with the government's waste strategy and waste hierarchy of reduce, reuse and recycle. In 2018, a question was put to the Council on how it could significantly increase materials that can be recycled and therefore the Council's recycling rate. This led to a more in-depth analysis of waste, which showed that on average, there was at least 1/3, usually more, of material being placed in the black wheelie bins that could be recycled. This is an average figure as each household is different and some households put out more glass and others more plastics, etc. This average was also based on weight, and of course some material being placed was light and took up lots of space, so bottles, boxes, etc. A compositional analysis was undertaken covering 3 different demographic areas which have been used in the past to help measure changes in the composition of waste. Typically, of the 10 bins collected for analysis, less than half were full, and when recyclable materials were removed from all the bins that were full, the residual waste remaining only filled 3 of the 10 bins analysed. This demonstrates that capacity was available for fortnightly refuse collections with recycling. The Council also undertakes recycling participation monitoring in several areas of Douglas. This involves waste services staff over several weeks visiting a street immediately before the curbside collection is due to see how many households have set out. This provides a percentage of those in that street who are recycling. After the monitoring, waste service staff, often accompanied by a councillor, will drop leaflets in the area and door knock to encourage households to recycle, dropping off recycling boxes and information. The exercise is then repeated to calculate the increase in recycling, and there is always a positive increase. All the research undertaken highlighted that the most successful means of capturing the most material to be recycled was to reduce residual capacity. This structural change has been applied successfully in several other countries, such as France, Germany, as well as the UK. The Council's calculations, which were deliberately conservative, highlighted that if all material that could be recycled and garden waste was removed from the black wheelie bins, there would be sufficient capacity for a household of 4 people. And 95% of households in Douglas have 4 or fewer people to receive a fortnightly residual collection. The change in service, therefore, was not just about going to fortnightly residual collections, but also introducing a new garden waste collection service for those households who were eligible. Now, I'm aware that not all the households have gardens, but this means that they're not producing the green waste to need extra capacity. Asking households to present their waste differently enables us to dispose of it more environmentally responsible way. Therefore, with many questions from council members having been answered and an awful lot more information to hand, the decision was made with an overwhelming 11 for and 1 against at the council's public rate setting meeting in January to move to alternate weekly collections. Unfortunately, at that meeting, it was misreported by the media as being an initiative to save £25,000. This was never the reason for the change in service, and given that the council has been discussing it since 2018, shows that it was a decision that was not taken lightly. After the decision was made to change the service, the council set out communicating the change. It did this through various platforms to ensure it reached all households, including a notification in the rates newsletter, which went out in early 2022, a further leaflet distribution to every household during the summer. There were articles and advertisements in local newspapers and magazines, over 200 radio adverts on all the nation's radio stations, played at different times of the day from mid-August until the end of September. This included 4 that were run during the broadcast of the Manning Line, a show that spoke about this change on numerous occasions. A multitude of posts on social media. Waste officers attended political surgeries to answer questions from constituents, and 3 roadshows, including 1 in Strand Street, 1 at the council's Fun Day, and 1 at the Food and Drink Festival. At these roadshows, officers could answer questions, give advice, provide boxes, bags, leaflets, and other recycling information. The campaign ran from late spring until after the change in service was introduced in the autumn. To help all households transition to the revised service, the garden waste service was introduced first and ran alongside the weekly residual waste collection service for 1 month. Due to the high impact this would have on our staff, it was only sustainable for a very short period, and at this junction, I would like it to be noted that we have listened to feedback on the service, and from next year it will run from February to the end of November. Again, to help households adjust once the residual collections moved to fortnightly, the crews were asked to take side waste for 1 month. Once that period was over, the normal policy of not taking side waste was continued. Some households were already recycling, so for them it was a very easy transition, especially with the addition of a garden waste collection service. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for helping Douglas as it continues to do what is right for our environment by recycling as much as we can. we can establish that those households struggling fall into two main categories. Those who, through specific features of their lifestyle, are producing more waste than average, and those who are not fully engaging with the waste service provided by the council. On the former, it was always recognised that there would be some households who, due to the household size or specific circumstances, would produce more waste than average and would need to be assisted. For these households, we will provide additional capacity and have done so when they have been brought to our attention. To provide the most suited solution to a particular household's need, a visit from one of our officers is required. Such visits are quick, painless and unintrusive, and generally do not involve a member of Waste Services rummaging through people's rubbish. Although I am told that people who are genuinely concerned about their ability to cope are keen to show what they are doing and how they are struggling. Often, a little education and awareness is all that is needed to help, but when extra capacity is needed, that is provided as quickly as possible and usually within 2 weeks. For those who are not fully engaging with the waste service provided by the council, they are being encouraged to recycle and no additional capacity is provided until they at least try. This really is the crux of the matter. Households give various reasons for why they can't or won't recycle. Some say that they don't have space for the boxes. The boxes are stackable when not in use, so take up little room until set out. If space is a genuine issue, then there are things the council can do to assist these households. We have in some areas, and where it is possible, installed communal recycling bins. If space is truly limited, then we encourage households to recycle at least one material, and that material will be different from one household to the next. One may produce a lot of glass, the other more cardboard, so we encourage them to recycle the material they produce the most of, as some recycling is better than none at all. If after all the avenues have been explored and extra capacity is still needed, we will provide it. Some households say they don't like the box system or the boxes themselves, saying they blow away when empty, the contents blow out when the boxes are full, and they perish over time. Some say they don't think the boxes are big enough to capture all that they have to recycle, so here is some information which may help you. You can have as many boxes as you need. Every box comes with either a net or plastic cover. If you lose these, you can get them replaced, and this will stop materials in the boxes being blown out. In addition, we are getting a stock of boxes with hinged lids, which some households may prefer. We will happily replace cracked or broken boxes. For all of these things, all you need to do is ask. It's okay to put something in your box to stop them blowing around. Some households use a small brick or a stone. The crews will empty your boxes and they will place them all together, and whatever you've used to keep the box in place, they will put in the top box. They will also try and put the boxes behind a wall or somewhere where if the weather is particularly Manx and blowy, they won't blow away. The boxes are used globally where there is a curbside service and have been specifically designed ergonomically for lifting and carrying by households and waste collectors. That is why they cannot be bigger and are the size and shape they are. They've been used for decades, so it is a tried and tested system. Those of you with family and friends across will know that some authorities use a system where all material that can be recycled goes into a wheelie bin or a bag, or certain materials go into specific bags or bins. These systems are known as commingled and twin stream recycling, and while they may seem to be more convenient for households and the authorities concerned, they are much less efficient than the curbside system. If we were to move to this type of system, a new facility would need to be built for sorting, which is not economically viable for Douglas residents. However, if there was an island-wide initiative to move to the system, managed and funded centrally, then the situation may be different. Some households state that they do not recycle because they can't be bothered or don't believe in it. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and it is for them to manage their waste accordingly. The council is providing a waste disposal service which is aimed at recycling all we can, which, if properly engaged with, provides sufficient capacity and does work. If the benefits of recycling, which have been around and proven for decades, does not convince you, then who are we to try? The island is justly proud of its green credentials. I am proud to call it home, but to be so far behind other jurisdictions in the way it manages its waste is a travesty. The Council, following the government's current waste strategy, has taken the lead on the island in this matter. Social media can be both a blessing and a curse. Misinformation is believed as truth with little or no validation. We are aware of the photographs that have been circulating. Some are not related at all to the change in waste service and just demonstrates incorrect disposal of items that aren't taken as part of the refuse service and never have been. What most pictures show is side waste, a lot of which can be recycled, and you must question why there is side waste in the first place. Is the household not fully engaging with the service provided? And if it is because there are genuine capacity issues at that particular property brought about by structural constraints, then we are and will continue to assist them by providing more capacity. If your property has genuine concerns, get in touch with us. If you are not recycling already, ask for recycling boxes. If your boxes are already full, ask for additional boxes. And if you are still regularly having black bin issues, please ask for assistance. These photographs really highlight those addresses that are not recycling, and we need to encourage these households to do so. Some of the photographs are of bin stores for flat complexes. We gave careful consideration to the situation in flats and apartments. These units mostly have shared bin stores and communal bins. We were careful to visit and calculate if they had sufficient capacity based on assumed full capacity. No, occupancy, not capacity, sorry. Over several years, we have rolled out recycling to flats, and where there is insufficient capacity for recycling, we provided a weekly recycling collection service, which most other households do not get. Flats had a cardboard collection service long before other households, and some flats don't have boxes, but they have wheeled bins for each type of material. Most flats have more than one bin store. Sometimes one is used for refuse and the other recycling, but more often than not, they are mixed. We have been closely monitoring flats for any capacity issues, and where we have found any, we have acted by providing more capacity, or in one isolated case, amending the collection frequency. What these photographs don't show, but we know through our monitoring, for the most part, the issues caused in flats are due to one bin store being overused, while the recycling facilities and alternative bin stores are underused. It is not for our waste service operators to sort out bin stores. This falls on the management companies to engage with the residents of the blocks to act in a reasonable manner. If you live in a flat, please forward the contact details of your management company to us so we can engage with them if we haven't already. Again, if there are genuine concerns about capacity, we will monitor it and adjust so that these complexes can manage. We are not applying a one-size-fits-all approach, as has been portrayed. We are flexing where we need to flex, but lack of evidence of capacity issues and underused recycling facilities are not the ingredients to return to weekly refuse collections. Comments have been made on the health risks associated with fortnightly refuse collections. Of all the scientific papers we have read, none conclude that there is a health risk for households associated with fortnightly collections. That fortnightly collections have been common practice in Europe for some 30 years, the UK for some 20 years, and on the island for several years adds weight to this. Indeed, there are studies available which have reviewed international research which concludes there is no risk to the public of fortnightly collections provided basic hygiene is followed. There has been anecdotal reports of increased vermin since the service change was introduced. While these anecdotes are concerning, there is no strong evidence to link vermin sightings with a change in waste service. We discussed this quite early on with the environmental health, and they confirmed our understanding that if waste is placed inside the wheelie bins, it will not be an attractor for vermin. This has been borne out by the experience of other parishes who have operated fortnightly collections for several years. If, however, side waste is being left out containing organic materials, then that is likely to be an attractor, but you must ask why such materials are being left out, and this brings us full circle to the issue of recycling. If residents engage fully with the waste service the council provides, there would be no need to put side waste containing organic material out that could attract vermin in the first place. And if these residents genuinely cannot recycle or have limited recycling capacity, then we will give them extra refuge capacity. Concern has been raised about our waste collectors. All our staff were consulted on the revised rounds, and there was always going to be a period of bedding in as the public adjusted. We continue to tweak these rounds to manage workloads and weight, and none of the operatives have had cause to work past their contractual hours per week. Most recently, comment has been passed about the impact of this change in service on the amenity site. The amenity site for the East serves 5 authorities and over half of the island's population. We are very closely monitoring both the amounts of green and residual waste being brought to the site. We anticipate a decrease in garden material, and to date we have not seen a trend of an increase in the residual material, nor have we any evidence to support the claims that there are often now long queues at the amenity site. The site has busy days for a variety of reasons, often related to weather and seasonal deviations. If households engaged fully with the waste service the council provides, there would be no waste and there would be no side waste and no need to make trips to the amenity site. Any uplift in residual waste at the site will be offset by the decrease in garden material, so any financial impact on the 4 non-Douglas authorities will be negligible. We will continue to monitor the site for any impact our change of service may have. Carbon implications of this waste service is always a talking point, and we believe them to be broadly neutral, if not in a better position. We do monitor our carbon emissions for the waste service, and it will be some time before we can say for certain whether the emissions have reduced. Intuitively though, the garden waste service has replaced 1 residual journey, and the curbside collections were already taking place. The vehicles are by necessity driving down every street, irrespective of where the household set material out, so the more material collected, the less carbon per unit, indicating an improved position. As for the call to revert to weekly collections, at this point it is far too early to claim that the change has not been a success. It has only been operating for 10 weeks. In a year's time, once the service has had an opportunity to bed in and the concerns raised dealt with, we will be looking to conduct a survey of the service. For now, we will continue to address the anticipated problem areas and those brought to our attention. On the whole, Douglas households would say it is working. Most Douglas households, some of whom were concerned about the change, have adapted well and are coping. If anyone here has genuine concerns about their ability to manage due to special circumstances or lack of space, then please reach out to us. We have prepared some sheets for people to fill out if they want to bring some concerns to our attention and don't want to stand up and speak this evening. They will be on the side over there. And now I've lost my place, so we can all take a deep breath. We are here to help and to listen, and are committed to providing a service which supports our environment's ambitions to recycle, whilst assisting those who, due to circumstances outside of their control, are unable to cope. I could talk slower. We are proud to be a biosphere partner and of our green credentials. We see this revised service as supporting them both. So in summary, we are asking Douglas residents to do their bit for our environment and for Douglas. Thank you.